Every time you tune in to 702,
you're not just listening,
you're making a difference.
We turn words into actions that change communities
and bring us closer to the South Africa we want to be. Every step counts.
So keep walking with us.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856
and 92.7 and 106 FM.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Six minutes after 9 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. You are on 702. Just like load shedding, I'm back. And I'm hoping I'm not as irritating as load shedding is. And I see that it's been suspended. Nonetheless, we will talk about that and its implications between 9 and 10 o'clock. It's an open line. I'm thrilled to be with you. I'm Thabo Shole-Mashao. I'm in for Clement, and we're together till 12. I look forward to your calls. Feel free to send them through on 011 883-0702, 011-883-0702. Alternatively, check us out live on YouTube. You can also communicate with us via various socials, including X, Facebook, and others. Today, we will be chatting about a number of things. One of them, as I've mentioned, load shedding, but VAT is on my mind, just like it is on yours, I'd like to believe. Political parties scrambling for credit, for glory, for victory, doing that victory lap after a race, a 2-month race, fighting about VAT. Whose glory is it? Whose credit is it? I think it's yours as a South African. You are the one who fought. It's not the DAs, it's not the EFFs, it's not the ANCs, it's not the IFPs. It is your credit. You fought hard. You were vocal, you called radio stations, you wrote on the newspapers, on social media. You were very, very vehement that you do not want VAT increase of 0.5%. So, are we still going to feel the crunch? Definitely, the worst is yet to come, as plans have been made by those in power to try and mitigate and patch up that 75 billion. Actually, it's about 16, 18 billion per annum, but look, given that they're looking at it in a midterm view, so it would, I suppose, amount to that. But are those real problems? Or are we being diverted to other issues? Smoke screen. We are all focusing on this thing, and whilst like a magician, the real trick is on the other hand. I want to find out from you, how can we grab this energy that we used to fight VAT increase, to take it into other elements of our lives, other facets of our economy as South Africans, to fight unemployment, inequality, to fight for a better living for all of us, and not just confine it to government. By the way, corporate South Africa often gets away with murder. How are we going to galvanize ourselves and use that energy that we used to fight VAT to use it elsewhere? So that's what we'll chat about between 9 and 10. It's an open line again, as I said, so anything goes. It could be that there is a story in your community that we are not aware of. Please mention those stories. Media can only cover a small percentage of what is truly happening on the ground. I can't overly emphasize it, as I do every time I have an opportunity to be behind the microphone, that we need your stories, your experiences, your encounters at work, at home, at play, wherever you are, so that we can know what is happening. Yes, every now and then we'll give you some bit of glimpse as to what's taking place in the country, but you're the one who's experiencing this. There may be a serious issue, a boiling issue that the media has not taken note of as yet, and you may be aware of it. Let us know. It's an open line between now and 10 o'clock. Then between 10 and 11, it is our Across the Desk feature, and we are speaking to international relations analysts. And Dr. Emmanuel Matambo international relations analyst, together with Professor Christopher Isikembe, will be joining us. What is it that they do from day to day? But most importantly, President Zelensky is in town, and of course he had to leave early for reasons that we all know. Kyiv was shell-bombed, well, at least parts thereof. So as a result, he had to go back home, but he's left some key ministers behind to take care of business. This meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa, very, very important, as we know that the country is leaning towards Russia. Yeah, of course. Someone is going to call and say non-aligned and whatever. Yeah, that's the official line, right? Yes, we are not taking any sides. However, our historical background, or the ANC's historical background, has always been leaning towards Russia. And yes, indeed, the president did lead a delegation of African leaders to negotiate peace in Russia. I'm aware of all of that. But having said that, this visit is very important on the backdrop of what the U.S. is doing right now. President Trump has threatened or has remarked, I shouldn't say threatened, has remarked that they could be leaving the talks. I don't know what that would mean for Ukraine, because whether we like him or not, I suspect he's our only hope on this issue. And we don't want the U.S. to leave those talks, and I don't think they will. As a mediator in these very critical discussions, I'm hoping that something comes out of it, whether Trump is my favorite or not. I really hope that the U.S. does at least broker something. And of course, it would be best if it's South Africa. I'd love that for us to broker peace. But the U.S. is heavily involved. It has its hands dirty in this battle. And we do know that Steve Wilkoff, who's gone to Russia to see President Putin, I think for the fourth time now. I'm hoping that would be successful, because, well, it doesn't benefit anyone except the greedy corporates in the arms industry. These fightings end up killing the various economies. We depend on Ukraine, we depend on Russia, so it's also to our benefit that there is peace in the interim, well, for as long as possible. As well, between 11 and 12, how do you know that your relationship is coming to an end, an intimate relationship? Because it just doesn't end when your partner says, I'm done, I'm walking away. It means they've been thinking about it for quite some time, for days, weeks, months, and some even years, contemplating leaving you, contemplating quitting the relationship. But how do you know that this is headed for a cul-de-sac? How do you know that actually we are going to hit the wall? There is no tomorrow for this relationship. This is about to end. What are the signs, the telltale signs that this relationship will end very soon? How do you know? We'll chat about that in our relationships feature. It's called Relationship Focus. How to spot your relationship is headed for a split. Refilwe Khamedi, relationship and dating coach, will join us for that. For now, it's an open line. I am literally opening the lines for you to raise anything that you'd like to raise under the sun. Feel free to send your voice notes to 072 702 1702. 072 702 1702. Alternatively, you can also give us a call, which is what I prefer, on 011-883-0702. 011-883-0702. Like I said, my name is Thabo. It's definitely an open line. 14 after 9.
702 Podcast.
On primemediaplus.com.
Yeah, you saw various political parties yesterday scrambling for credit. You saw Rise Mzansi, Build One South Africa, Inkatha Freedom Party, Progressive Alliance, and many other parties, including the ANC, claiming victory that VAT has been scrapped, has been cancelled because the increase, at least that is, increase of VAT has been cancelled because of their intervention, and this was a product of in-depth negotiations, and courts should not have been included. And I'm wondering to what extent this affects you, if not directly. Yes, there are politics that we need to speak about, and yes, perhaps we need to speak about politicians and their contribution to this. However, there are more serious issues that we need to factor in as we discuss this very thorny and complex issue. One, as I said on Bongani Pingwa's show in the morning, that you have to realize that South Africa's debt is tremendous. Over 1 billion rand that we are paying towards our debt to bondholders and everyone else every single day. In a day, over 1 billion rand that South Africa is paying. Per annum, it goes to over 400 billion. That is a staggering figure. Lest we forget that we have absorbed some of Eskom's debt. Speaking of Eskom, in the minister's plans, you would know that he had made mention of the Eskom's debt, which the government has absorbed, and the plan that needs to be put into place to deal with Eskom's debt. And why Eskom's debt so vividly? Simply to resuscitate the energy levels of our country. And we know the story of the so-called 9 wasted years. We know the story of the Zondo Commission, what they have unraveled regarding how Eskom was captured for many, many years. And we do know how it's critical to have a functional Eskom, which may, for the very first time in a while, show some bit of progress in their financial reports this year. So those are some critical things that we are dealing with as a country. You and I would be the first to agree as well that our education system needs to be injected with proper funding. Why? To pay teachers well, curriculum improvement and upgrading, curriculum development, to the school's infrastructure has to be there. Another aspect there too, assisting learners who come from unfortunate backgrounds to access quality education. So all those things, and I can move from one department to the next, to the next, to the next, and tell you why we need as much funding as possible. Notwithstanding the fact that the 1 rand that we have, a big chunk of it is wasted on corruption and maladministration. That is there, and we can't run away from it. But my ultimate point is that whilst we are celebrating the scrapping of the VAT increase of 0.5%, the worst is still ahead. One way or the other, we must foot the bill for the dish we ordered. And that dish that we had ordered is very, very expensive because it includes dignified lifestyles for all of us. And dignified doesn't mean luxurious. It simply means that we must make sure that there's access to education, healthcare, safety, and security, and so on and so on. So we are not out of the woods as yet. We are not. And why is that? Because our growth is less than 1%. Our growth is less than 1%. Yet the deficit of the country is at 5%. So put mildly, it's like you are having this business and you are making profits of 1%, but your liabilities cost you 5%. At some point, it's not sustainable. You will crash at some point. You will. So that's where the country is right now. As we sober ourselves up beyond the political rhetoric, beyond the populist statements that are being made, beyond people scrambling for victory as political parties seeking your attention, beyond finger pointing. We are in a mess. We are in a mess. I'm not being an alarmist. We need to fix that mess. There are critical, substantive financial issues, economic issues that we need to look at as a country, let alone that this VAT thing may dissuade potential investors from participating actively in an economy that they would otherwise have preferred. Why is that? Instability. And I'm not an economist at all, as you would know. but the instability has not helped at all. But how do we recover from now? What do we do? How do we make sure that we don't find ourselves here again and again and again and again? Because it will happen. What is the future of the GNU? So my question to you is that, do we have appropriate leadership acumen to drive this country forward and to take it away from this quagmire that we have experienced in the past few months, if not years? And this question goes to you. Why to you? You're a South African, or you're in South Africa. You're a voter, or a voter would be. So you sorted out this problem of the increase. So I just want to know from you, where to from here? Who should leave the GNU? Who should stay? What do we do? Because, we're not going to go to an election tomorrow. But given an opportunity to decide on the future of the GNU, what would you do? Knowing what you know, the table that I've set in front of you, what do we do now? Where do we go to from here? 011-883-0702. 011-883-0702. I would love to hear from you about where do we go from here? Should we say, goodbye, Minister? You created this mess. You were insistent up to the very last hour that there won't be any reversal because the horse had already bolted. We are here because of your pronouncements. You should have checked before. Should we say, bye-bye, Minister? Or should we say, listen, the ANC needs to reconstitute the GNU and look at other partners who will be more stable to avoid this rigmarole, this up and downs that we have been experiencing, because the political leadership is extremely necessary at this point. Where should we go from here? What would you prefer to do as a voter? So that's one question that I have for you. 2, we do need some solution on load shedding, right? It has been with us for quite some time, and it sneaks up on us every now and then. We do need permanent solutions. And are we doing enough? The minister, Eskom, and I could kick myself for calling it load shedding because it's not load shedding. It's power outages. And if it were for me, we'd call it Eskom failures for 2 hours, stage 2 of Eskom failure. That's what we'd call it. But it's not up to me. And I suppose, but it's not load shedding. Once again, that's a euphemized version of serious shortcoming in competence and failures of a utility. You can come with 10,000 reasons why that happened, but that's what it is. And I could kick myself for calling it load shedding because I'm falling for the very successful PR rollout of Eskom in convincing South Africans to call it load shedding. So, but the question still remains to you, 011-883-0702. Where to from here? Yes, there's no VAT increase. Someone must pay the price. Someone's head must roll. Whose head is it? Should we say the DA and ANC are not doing very well at this GNU thing? Should we say enough is enough? We are tired of the ups and downs. And let's find other people. Let's hear from you what you have to say. 011-883-0702. Let's go first to your voice notes.
Good morning, Thabo. Thabo, you know what worries me about this beautiful country of ours is that South Africans aren't patriotic enough. You go to government departments, you see what people are playing with our livelihood, our children's livelihood. Then we ask ourselves, are we that really patriotic? Honestly, South Africans need to think it twice. because this is the only thing that we are left with. Should South Africa fail, South Africans are going nowhere. We are not like other countries who can migrate or we can just run from their own country. Sello from Roodepoort.
Morning, Thabo. In school out here in Durban. Well, everyone will want to claim victory about this VAT hike stoppage for now. Well, but I would like to remind the listeners that they must not forget which guys were ready to put us on the chopping board, because we are already suffering as it is. So we can't really afford another VAT hike. Another thing I would like to comment on is that there's a campaign which is called March and March, which is against the illegal immigration. So there will be another march on the 2nd of May, which is Friday next week. So it's something that I feel like it's not being covered enough by the media, because illegal immigration is a big issue, which is leading to a certain percentage of unemployment in this country. Thanks, Thabo.
Thanks very much. Let's go straight to our calls. 011-883-0702. Nari in Blackgowrie. Hey, Nari.
Hi, how's it?
I'm free. How's it going, bro?
Okay. Yes. Listen, I just want to talk about democracy. You know, in many...
Now, Nari, I'm going to ask you to try to move around a little bit or hop on a chair or something, because the signal is not as good as it ought to be. I want to hear what you have to say. Let's try again.
Yeah, I'm saying, can you hear me now?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Okay.
Nari, let's try again. I'm going to ask the producers to reach you on a different line. Maybe that, because I do want to hear what you have to say. And I know you've been holding for quite some time. So I'm going to ask.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Hear me?
Yeah, go again.
Yes. Okay. What I'm saying is this whole thing of coalition, it didn't start here. It's something that has been happening in other countries in Europe. So when we are in a coalition government, you're not going to agree on everything. So in a democratic situation, courts are being used. So courts are the ones that decide. So the whole idea of some people saying we only need bad parties, for me, that's undemocratic, you know. In a democratic society, you need diversity. You cannot have one voice, you understand? You need a different voice, you understand? So for me, we still need DA as part of the GNU. You should not leave. The whole idea about opposition is okay. Even ANC, you should accept that. That is part of democracy. You cannot agree on everything, but courts are there to help, you know.
Yeah, two things quickly, Nari, before you go, if you don't mind. Let's start with the first one first. You spoke about the courts. The courts have a limited role in being an arbiter of disputes in society, especially as far as their counterpart in the legislature is concerned. The court should not unduly interfere. It may pronounce on the technicalities of the procedure, but it's not up to the court to say that we need a vet or not. It cannot be. Unless if the process to come into that conclusion was somehow not followed to the T as per the requisite legislation, right? So that's one. And so if we are going to use the court to resolve political problems, we will be attacking the same democracy that you have spoken about so fervently. So that's one. Okay. Do you want to speak on that? And then we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, okay. Listen, the whole thing about the courts, they are there for disagreement between two people or whatever. We understand it. It's there just to help, you know, to make the right judgment, who's right, who's wrong. And definitely we
Eish, Nari, your line, bro. Your line is not. Try to move around, please.
I'm saying, all I can you hear me now?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear? Yes.
Hour. Let's try another line, Nari. I'm gonna ask the producers to call you. We won't win with this line. Let's go straight to the producers to give Nari another call. And I understand that right now DA is live and in Action SA, and they're live now in their various social media platforms discussing the relationship of the GNU. Where do you want the GNU to go from here? who should go and who should stay. And also there is this myth that if the DA is not in the GNU, it's not the GNU. It's still the GNU without the DA. I'm not saying they should go. Well, unless if they want to go. But there's this mythical thing that has been injected into society that they are a monopoly on all things ethical and all things governance. I think it's very short-sighted to have that view. Well, you can tell me on 0118.
Hi, I'm TD Madia. Welcome to my podcast, Politricking. If you're a politically invested individual, Politricking is the podcast for you. Catch exclusive interviews from politicians to local well-known individuals. This podcast will keep you hooked. Find more of these intriguing conversations on primediaplus.com or on ewn.co.za. And please rate this podcast wherever you listen to help others find Politricking with TD Madia. Politricking with TD Madia.
0702, 9:30.
702.
Call us on 011 883 0702.
And some people have called in already. It's Thabo in for Clement. We're together till 12. It's 24 minutes to 10 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us and keep those calls coming through. You're talking about VAT, load shedding and everything else. It's an open line, so feel free to participate. Someone who's been holding the longest is definitely Palesa in Alberton. Palesa, thanks for your patience. Welcome. Hi.
Hi, Thabo. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Thanks so
I wanted to comment regarding the GNU. As a person that intentionally voted for the GNU results, I am happy with the outcome for the vote. And I'm going to tell you why, Thabo. For me, I have not been, for myself, being a 33-year-old young woman who studies very hard to get to where they are, I've not been represented fully in Parliament, mostly because of most of the decisions were made from the Luthuli House. And that has made me not be represented fully. But what the GNU has come up with is whether you are black or white or Asian or colored, whatever you are, you can get represented. And that has shown with the results that we've received when things are not done according to the people that are there, that have their own intentions. We still have other people that have different intentions that show up represented either way. So with that said, I'd like to just say I am happy with how the minister changed his mind. Whether he changed it because of the impact of the Luthuli House people or because of the DA's fighting, that's exactly what we wanted as South Africans, because one party was not showing us was not bringing us any impact in our country. But having different heads there representing each and everyone differently brings us where we are today. Listen, Thabo, if the fights have to go to court, then let's rather have somebody that is not part of any party than come and give us better results, because the people that we voted for so long have just been doing what they want. So the GNU is for us. When I voted, Thabo, I didn't vote for one party. So I wanted different parties to keep the other one accountable, to keep the other one on their toes, so that we all get represented.
No, I got the gist of that, Palesa. I just wanted to ask you one question before I say goodbye to you. And the plurality of voices that you voted for, I don't think that they were necessarily based on a certain party.
Correct.
I'm thinking you needed a multiplicity of views, of political views, where parties are holding each other accountable. It's not just a one lane road leading to wherever this party wants to go. So the question is, if the DA were to leave, would you feel that it's no longer a substantive GNU as it ought to be?
100%. I would feel that. I feel like they've been holding as a good opposition. I feel like they've been holding good as a good opposition party, whether their intentions are for their own benefit or what. But at the results, when the results come down to me as a resident or human being in South Africa working on the grounds, I do feel the impact.
Do you not think? Yeah, sorry about that. 1 second, just that we don't have a lot of time. I must go to Godfrey and Mark. Lastly, do you not think that any other party that's currently out of the GNU can easily play the same role that the DA is playing, according to you, within the GNU now?
No. I don't think so, because their values and principles are aligned on their own as together. But there's no other different values that bring in to the GNU. So those values cannot be found in any other party outside the GNU currently, right? Correct.
Thanks, Palisa. Palisa's views very clear. Thanks for that. 011-883-0702. Mark, you are also holding the longest in Centurion. Thanks for calling and holding.
Yes, hi, Thabo. You made so many points, but let me start at the beginning here.
Yeah.
You said nobody, you're not an economist, and there are not many economists. And I say that you're wrong, because we are all economists, and we all, whether we're running a country or whether we're running our own household, you and I both know, and every listener out there knows, you get a certain amount of money every month that basically for your services, depending what it are, some earn more, some earn less, depending on the job that they're in and the qualification that they have. With that, you now need to create your life. You need to basically have a roof over your head. There are certain priorities that you must have. You must eat. You must feed your kids. You must take them to school. Maybe you have a car. Maybe you pay petrol. But everything else, there are certain fixed costs. And then hopefully there's money left over at the end of the month for certain nice things to have, like a holiday or go to the movies or go for dinner and so on. And if you know that your expenditure is higher every month than the money that you are earning, you need to cut your expenditure. That means you cannot go to the movies, you cannot go on holiday, and you cannot do, and maybe you drive a little less so you can save on petrol. And this is the fact of life that every human being on this planet has to go through. You cannot suddenly go, maybe you can, but I mean, the chances are if you go to your employer, say, I need more money, he says, well, either work harder or improve your life. Improving your life means getting another qualification so you maybe get a better job and earn more money, okay?
Gotcha.
Our economy is exactly the same. We need to grow our economy so that South African state can earn more revenue. That means not only selling commodities, maybe by manufacturing. We've been talking about it ad nauseum for decades. We need to have jobs, build our companies. Those companies pay more corporate tax. More people are employed. They will get more. They will pay more import tax, income tax. They will pay more VAT. The government earns more money that way. By exporting more and importing less, we can get our current account deficit down, and so on, and so on, and so on. And exactly what you've been saying. I mean, everything is failing. Education, roads, water, our SOEs are bankrupt, our economy is stagnating, and so on.
Sure, Mark, No,
what must we do? We need to get the ANC out of power, out of government, because they are the root cause of all the evil that's befallen this country over the last 31 years.
They will argue differently about being a root cause, right? They will also attribute some of these to historical factors that they inherited. But that's an argument for another day. I think, Mark, you've made a very interesting point. And I am not an economist by qualification. That's what I meant. And I think you know what I mean. And also I get exactly what you are saying when you're saying all of us are economists, because we are managing some little finances in our small spaces. And the same principle applies on a larger macroeconomic scale. Godfrey in Campton Park, thanks for holding.
My brother, how are you?
I'm free. How's it going with you, Godfrey?
No, I can't complain.
Yes, sir.
Look, man, I think my contribution, something I want to check.
Try moving around, Godfrey. I'm losing you.
About
Godfrey, I'm losing you. Let's give it a second try. Try to move around if you can, please.
Hello?
Yeah, Godfrey? Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right, thank you so much. I was saying, in terms of the GNU, there is something that I don't understand, and I think we're giving too much credit to the DA and with the court case and everything, but we're not asking them what exactly did they want, because that is the biggest question that we need to ask. And South Africans actually been being given on the clear from the side of the DA, because I'm interested to find out exactly what do they want. Because if we are hearing the other partners that are saying GNU, DA says they want Bella Act to fall, they want this Act to fall, they want that, they want that. But that is something that the DA should actually come through and say, look, as a DA, for us to because they're saying for them to support whatever the ANC is putting through or the other partners are putting through, they need to get something out of it. But that question, we are not actually asking them. And I think that is naive from our side or even the media to actually even question. Because for me to make a better clear and actually take the victory as a DA or whatever party to say we are fighting for South Africans, it needs to be clear and honest. So DA now, they are pushing this narrative as if like all the other GNU are not participating or are not going according to the letter of intent and all of that. But they are not telling us exactly what do they want for
Remember,
them to
Godfrey,
go with the letter of intent.
I didn't want to interrupt you earlier on, but
Yes,
I think you would know the DA came with an alternative plan where they expressed vividly what is it that they want. One of those items, if you remember, and I've been trying to look for it here, just so that I am extremely accurate. But whilst I'm searching for it, I just based on memory only, you would remember they were talking about scrapping off the NYDA as one of the cost-saving mechanisms. But they had a very detailed alternative plan to replace the VAT hike. And they did present it succinctly to everyone and also submitted that very same plan to Treasury as an alternative to the hiking of VAT to 0.5%.
I hear you, my brother, with that. But the question is, what does what they are trying to scrap actually benefit? Does it benefit the majority or the minority? Because if it benefits the majority, like for instance, I'll give an example. I'm a small business, South African, that I'm self-employed. I've got kids. I'm depending on the small business that I'm running. Now, I need that funding because some of us, we don't qualify for banks and other things. That NYDA helps me to definitely get an assistant or whatever things that they think that see if that is the part where we are taking from the majority, then that is the problem.
Yeah, but then the question that they will ask, Godfrey, would be, and I'm not a spokesperson for the DA, as you would know. The question that they would ask is that, is the NYDA, just as an example that we've used, and I'm not picking on them, is the NYDA really producing value for money? The budget that they are getting, the help that they are dispensing, and their existence in our economy, is it really value for money, proper value that South Africa needs? If not, shall we not look at the alternative? And if the alternative benefits the economy, by virtue of that, everyone else would be benefiting.
I think it might make sense in a way of someone that is not sitting on the ground. If you go to the rural areas, to the young people, the skills programs that the government is trying to put through, whatever that is actually benefiting the young people, even though it might not go because of corruption and other things, but those are the programs that are young people out there. The most important thing that we need to do is create systems that can actually strengthen those institutions that
for accountability. Godfrey, thanks, brother. Really appreciate it. I have been fair to you. I did give you sufficient time to express your thoughts. Really appreciate it, Godfrey in Kempton Park. Nsako, thanks for holding as well. You've been here for quite some time. Thanks for your patience. In Braamfontein, hi.
Hi, good morning, Thabo.
Morning, ma'am.
Thabo, I think South Africa, because we come out of apartheid, which was kind of a one-party state, we have an obsession, or we have been inculcated with this idea of power and authority as a singular source.
Yes.
And for the past 30 years, because we just had the ANC as the majority, they were able then to operate kind of as a de facto one-party state, in that what they want is what they want. We can debate in parliament and we can have contestations in society, but at the end of the day, they will have what they want. And I think for the first time, we're being challenged to have a democracy that goes beyond just what it means to vote, but the democracy between the 4 years, which means that different ideas, different views have to contest each other, have to fight each other, and at the end of the day, in a democracy way, in that if you are a person who likes order, clean lines, apartheid-esque thinking, it might feel very destabilizing to have the idea that you don't just come into parliament and say, I want a VAT increase, and it's done. Like we did last time, the 14 to 15% was just said, and we did it. Nobody wanted it, but it was done. This time, we've had to say, can you please explain? Can you seek alternatives? And neither the ANC nor our sense as a nation of wanting order, are we able to hold this idea that we can disagree? We can disagree for a long time. And at some point, something will come out of that.
Nsako, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you 100% in a sense that when you have multiplicity of voices, views, and political backgrounds, you are most likely to get a best possible political outcome because we would have honed each other. We would have exhausted all creative juices to get to the same destination in the best possible way. I 100% agree with you that you can't have one party choosing this because they had a discussion in a whiskey smoke-filled room at some point, and then they have passed it through party corridors, and now it's going to parliamentary desks, and now the entire society must feel the power of few individuals within that party. I 100% agree. You need a plurality of voices to make it. That's what democracy should be about, amongst other things, right? So I agree. My only discontentment is the fact that we seem to synonymize GNU with DA. I have a serious problem. I have a serious problem with that because we are playing to a very dangerous narrative. And coming from where we come from as a country, and I don't want to say it on air because I don't want to get into trouble. It seems that other people are always right and other people are always wrong. I don't subscribe to that. It irritates me when we think only that progress, development, success, and effectiveness only takes place when certain people are in the room. It cannot be. I
absolutely agree with you, Thabo. But I think that where I'm disappointed is some of the smaller parties that actually have more to gain from disagreeing than they do from agreeing. A party like Rise, for instance. I supported Rise.
Yeah.
And at this point I'm saying, but you've got one seat. Risk your one seat and have a voice that doesn't just say whatever the majority wants is what we'll go for. Say the stuff that people who voted for you, say the things you said you would do when people voted for you.
Yes.
And I do agree that it's not a matter of white is right, which is kind of what you're trying to avoid saying, right?
I'm not here always, and I love being here. So But you see, and that's a dangerous, because when Ansako, our kids will grow up with that if we perpetuate that. And I don't want that for my children. I want them to know that they're equally effective, smart, and intelligent to take but you're 100% correct about other smaller parties, because honestly, that's why you voted for them, Nsako. You voted for Rise to bring a different voice to a choir of a certain notation.
But they didn't. What they did just to say, we're going to secure the one seat we have. Yeah. And what's going to happen to those parties is the same thing that happened to COPE, where you say, if you're unable then to stand up and begin to say the things that are uncomfortable and disagree, so that you may lose your ministerial position, say, but you may actually gain our support in that this idea that we have a one-party state that pretends it's a democracy is nonsensical and must end.
Nsako, we'll have to leave it at that. I'm terribly sorry. We have to give Joseph a chance. He's been here for quite some time as well. Joe, thanks for holding. Welcome. You are in Roslyn. Morning, Joe. Can you hear me?
Thabo, can you hear me?
Now I can, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Thabo.
Sharp,
Thabo. Look, Botswana did it. Just the national elections in Botswana, they changed the political parties in terms of governance.
Yes.
We tried last year. We couldn't, unfortunately, completely, because we felt over 3 decades, one party state has actually failed us. We know the state that we find ourselves in. So we tried last year, we failed. Unfortunately, it led to the GNU. And a GNU, I like to use the analogy of the marriage. You don't take unilateral decisions.
Yeah.
You consult. So now, if you are going to come in this partnership and want to play a big brother, that's where the problem is, because of you want to make decisions unilateral. And someone who will sit in Luthuli House and take these decisions, the very same decisions that have been taken for the past 30 years that have failed us as a nation.
Yeah.
I'm in a monetary evaluation space. I always say, you can't do the same thing and expect different results. And how is this related to this?
Yeah.
So the very same people who've been there in the system for the past 30 years, They are still there. Even whether you call it GNU, whether you call it whatever.
Yeah.
They are still there. And West, Thabo, they still want to call the shots.
I see. Joe, let me engage you quickly. I have to finish in the next minute or so. So let me just throw in. I mean, you are making parallels with Botswana, and you are comparing that to Botswana. You know that in Botswana, it's UDC that is in charge now after taking the elections in October, right? Last year. Yeah. And prior to that, you had a party that was in power for 58 years or so, BDP. Absolutely. And then as a result, UDC in itself, it is a conglomeration of various parties, including AP, BNF, and others. So UDC on its own is a coalition. It's not one party as such. It is a plethora of other parties, and that's why they're saying umbrella for democratic change. You are aware of that it's not just one party, right?
I'm well aware.
Okay,
I'm using
sure.
All of that to say that if they could do I liken that to the GNU, the very same GNU that we are confronted with as a country.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the very ANC that has been taking decisions that have failed us, put us in this dilemma that we find ourselves in. It cannot be that they are still making the decisions in this very GNU because of now. It actually renders your DA. And in no way am I suggesting, Thabo, get me right, that the DA is always right. No,
I hear you.
Right, we need to support them.
Of course. It doesn't matter who's right. It doesn't matter.
Right
If the DA is right on issues, we must rally behind what is right and not look at where the message comes from. And lastly, the difference, again, you know that they contested as a coalition before the election. They didn't become a coalition post-election. Joe, really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. 3 minutes to 10 o'clock.
Words have tremendous power.
At 7:02, we use ours to inform,
connect, and spark real change. But we can't do it alone.
So join the conversation.
Add your voice.
And together, we'll turn words into meaningful action. 7:02.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming countrywide on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
and 92.7 and 106 FM.